Hello, darling friend. I have a story for you about courage. It was long ago and far away, and there was a mighty forest, a hot, steamy, dense forest. And on the forest floor there were little crackles and sparks, and one spark took hold of a brittle, dry leaf and ignited. And it passed from one leaf to the next, to a twig, until suddenly flames were reaching up and all around and engulfing the forest. Now, in one of the tallest trees, right at the very top, was a tiny little parrot who looked down and felt the heat coming up, heard the crackling and the rustling and the scurrying, and smelt the smoke. "To the river! To the river!" said the tiny little parrot urgently. "Quick, quick, quick!" And it flew high above and towards the river, but as it looked down, it saw that many of the animals, the insects, the beasts, they couldn't get out. And so the parrot had to think very quickly, I can't leave my friends and my neighbours. And it had an idea. So the little parrot swooped down to the river and filled its beak with as much water as it possibly could before it flew back over the river, over the forest, and dropped those tiny little beads of water, which turned into steam before they even touched the ground. But this didn't deter the little parrot, who flew again and picked up more water, and back and forth and back. The little parrot was fluttering and coughing. Its eyes were red with heat, and it had feathers that were burnt and scarred. But this didn't stop it. Back and forth and back. Now, up in the clouds, the gods were having a party. They were chatting and laughing, drinking and making merry. They were eating nectar. And they looked down. "Oh, how amusing! How lovely that we have a fire for our party," said one of the gods. And another one saw. Oh, look, it saw the speck of a bird, this way and that, darting back and forth. "What a foolish little bird," said the god. And all of the god's friends began to laugh and ridicule this tiny little bird. "How ridiculous is that?" And one of the gods even transformed into a mighty eagle, diving down and swooping and following that tiny little parrot's back and forth. "Oh, what are you doing? Don't be so ridiculous. Save yourself. Fly away, fly away." And the little parrot was hot with rage and fury. "Don't you tell me to fly away. Don't. Just help me," said the little bird. "Just help me." And this actually took the god by surprise, who flew back up to be with his friends and felt a deep shame in his heart and an embarrassment and a surprise. So much so that tears leapt up into the god's eyes, and they began to pour out and down onto the forest. And with each of those god's tears, the fire started to die down and to be extinguished. And every time one of those god's tears fell on that tiny little parrot, its feathers were transformed into iridescent blues and greens and yellows and oranges. And it gave the little parrot more energy to go back and forth. And now the other gods were looking on, and they began to be ashamed and come to their senses, and they called forth the rains. And soon the entire forest was extinguished of its fire. And everywhere that god's tears fell, green shoots sprang up. Every insect and creature and animal sighed in relief, and the little parrot sat for a moment, and they all cheered. Little parrot, you are brave, you are courageous. We have to thank you," said his neighbours and friends. So, if you ever feel that what you do doesn't have any effect or it doesn't have enough impact, remember the little parrot That's what I try to do. And maybe if you've got a friend who also feels that they need a bit of courage or bravery, then please share this story with them. Thank you. I hope you have a brilliant day.